Hello, this is Brian Rowe with Mythic MTG Tech looking at Magic versus Hex. This is a fascinating case to me because of my background, both having worked at Wizards of the Coast. I was there until Hasbro bought them out managing a gamekeeper store. After that, I went on to study intellectual property and now teach at University of Washington's Information School and Seattle University Law. I'm also definitely on the public interest side of intellectual property. I worked both at Creative Commons as a legal intern and then at Public Knowledge on a Google Public Policy Fellowship, looking at the ways that intellectual property really interacts with end user rights. This case also comes at a really interesting time because Magic Online appears to be very vulnerable in the marketplace. Their beta client has not went over very well. The UX design on Magic has never been extremely good. I don't know how many times I've seen batter skulls not destroyed, but germ tokens accidentally destroyed, or the wrong half of permanents sacrificed to a Liliana. There's a huge area for improvement on the online interface. Now, Hex is a company that I wasn't very familiar with. They are brand new. They appear to be a spinoff of Cryptozoic, or at least have some strong relationship with Cryptozoic. Cryptozoic does board games. It also has this interesting relationship as they appear to have recruited a lot of the talent from the World of Warcraft trading card game, with the idea to take Hex and move it into an online environment. This is a super competitive environment right now. Hearthstone was just launched by Blizzard. SoulForge is also another Kickstarter darling that has launched recently. Magic Online is facing some heavy competition in this space. Hex specifically raised over $2 million to take the TCG model and move it into an MMO, a massive multiplayer online model. Wizards of the Coast has responded by throwing the entire kitchen sink at Hex in the form of an intellectual property lawsuit that covers trademarks, patents, and copyright. One thing to remember, though, is that if you read the complaint, that these are really conflated in the complaint. Patent law, trademark law, and copyright law usually cover rather distinct areas. For example, the functional aspects of something that can be patented are not able to be covered by trademark. Trademark covers the non-functional aspects that provide consumers with useful information to designate where a brand is from. Let's look first at the trademark claim. I think this is the weakest of the three claims put forward. Wizards of the Coast does own a significant number of trademarks. They're registered through the Patent and Trademark Office. You can go look them up. But the direct marks are not really being infringed here. We're not copying the exact marks. What Wizards is claiming, though, is that they kind of copy the look and feel in a way that could confuse consumers. They've got some wonderful pictures between Duels of the Planeswalker and the Hex interface. But what's interesting here is how much of what's copied is really functional versus purely aesthetic. The shape of the Coke bottle in this example definitely shows an aesthetic to the curves to it that would give you kind of trademark-like protection or trade dress protection to that. I don't see that as what's happening here with regards to Hex. Hex is copying the functional aspects, so trademark is really not the right place for this lawsuit. Also, lots of aspects of the game are functional. Moat describes the fact that non-flying creatures cannot attack, and that's been around since moats have been around. Counterspell counters a spell or stops a spell. The copyright claims are a little bit stronger here, although they're once again a little bit conflated in the lawsuit. Let's see if I can pull the lawsuit up here. Wizards is claiming that Cryptozoic copied the cards, plots, element, circumstances, play, sequence, and flow of Magic in their copyright infringement claim. This is very interesting because some aspects here, plot, element circumstances can definitely be copyrighted. The play sequence, though, seems extremely functional to me, and the flow of magic also is functional in nature. So they're really trying to take some aspects of the game and apply copyright to it that seem very functional. Let's take a look at the deck size. Decks are 60 cards. This seems extremely similar to a 52 card deck, which has been around time immemorial. Another concept here is the idea of mana. The game Magic has 5 different types of mana, and mana as a magical energy has been referred to historically for hundreds of years, but recently by Larry Nivens in The Magic Goes Sideways, in the short story Not Long Before the End of Time. Yeah, somebody could argue that Magic maybe wasn't aware of Larry's work, but I highly doubt that. You could also argue that, well, maybe these 5 types of magic are really unique. I don't buy that either, though. There are several different mystical systems that rely on 5 different types of energy and have a interplay or a dynamic back and forth between them. These are not original concepts that Magic came up with. They took these concepts from the public domain and put them into their game. Anyone else is free to do the same thing themselves. Another aspect that has been quoted as a similarity is the 4 of a kind rule. If you look back at an original Alpha playbook, there wasn't a 4 of a kind rule. After playing Magic for a period of time, people figured out that having a limit on the number of cards would be useful, and they grabbed this 4 of each card from games that we have already seen around for hundreds of years. Now let's take a little bit of a critical look at some of the comparisons that have been made. We've got Form of the Dragon here, which is a red card, and Wrath of Zakir, which is a red card, 7 casting cost on each of them, and in each case, neither can be attacked by non-flyers. But the real question here is, are these similarities because of blatant exact copying, or are they functional aspects of the game? The idea that dragons fly and can't be attacked by ground troops is extremely functional and common sense. The implementation of these 2 cards is actually rather different. One is an enchantment, the other is an action. The enchantment itself has a significant drawback to it, which is that your life total becomes 5. We don't see that drawback with the Wrath of Zakir. The implementation of these is different, even though there are functional similarities between them. Another one that's been getting a lot of press is the similarities between Genesis Wave, in being a green card that allows you to put several permanents in play, and Eye of Creation. The casting cost between these two is rather similar, but the effects between them are rather different. Genesis Wave only puts permanents into play. Eye of Creation basically lets you cast anything, including other Eye of Creations. So there is a potential interaction that is very different. Also, if you notice on the Hex cards, these cards are not just cards, but they're modified by other additions or add-ons to them. They've taken the idea of cards and put them into a digital space to where they are much more fluid and manipulatable. This lawsuit, though, is likely to come down to the patent claims. Wizards of the Coast owns an extremely broad patent that was originally filed in 1994. This patent is about to expire, although many of the claims on it were added in 2007 and may have additional life. The patent itself covers pretty much everything you think of as part of a trading card game. It has the basic layout of cards and the aspects of tapping or untapping cards to mark them as used. If this patent is interpreted very broadly, then pretty much every trading card game in the market would be infringing. I hope that this patent is severely limited so that it allows there to be a competitive marketplace for trading card games. Definitely recommend checking out the complaint online, although I do not recommend it as a way to learn intellectual property law, as it really is conflated trademark, copyright, and patent. A final note to Wizards: please consider spending more money on Magic Online's interface, add some MMO features to it, create a better project. I would rather have you innovating than throwing this money at a whack-a-mole lawsuit that is going to possibly bankrupt one of your competitors, while your other competitors are creating better products online. Definitely some good articles out there. I recommend the Understanding Wizards versus Heck lawsuit in plain English. Thanks. This has been Brian Rowe with Mythic MTG Tech, looking at Wizards v. Hex. Also, thank you to everybody who sponsors the channel over on Patreon.